Welcome back to the channel, you guys. Today we are going to talk about, technically we're talking about drag straps, maybe a little bit of buddy rescue. We talk a lot in the community, in the preparedness space, about medical supplies, having medical skills, being able to render self-aid or buddy aid. And that's a great thing to have, and it's a great skill set to focus on. It is only part of the conversation though. So if we're talking about, I think you cool guys call it being on the X, right? But where bad things are happening, right? If you get shot or a friend gets shot and goes down, the idea is to only issue what is immediately necessary as far as medical aid and then remove that individual from that environment if at all safely possible, right? Without creating additional casualties, and then be able to render that aid. A big part of that is something called a drag strap. A drag strap. So you guys see the handle here. We're going to get into setting this one up. This is not something that comes factory on this FCPC, but it's something commonly referred to as a DARC strap, made popular by the folks over at DARC, and the team at Spirit Systems talk about it a lot. I know the guys at Orion Training Group really recommend it and really talk about it. This is actually some older footage from our Patreon page that I was taking a look at and decided this would be really helpful for folks as they're putting together a drag strap on their carrier. So with that said, let's dive into a little bit about the drag straps and buddy rescue and what you guys need to know to get this set up. Okay. So talking about drag straps, let's talk about the different types. So this one is what we're gonna be focusing on today. However, in the legacy offerings of a drag strap, they look a little bit different. They look something like this. They look like this. So this is, I don't even know what model this is. This is my very first plate carrier, very much shame. This is a Condor plate carrier of some variety. And you can see here, it has like a really, this is like the loop that you used to use to hang your backpack when you got home from school, right? That's essentially what the drag strap has been for a long, long time, up until very recently. So on some legacy plate carriers, you'll see a strap like this, and the idea being that if you go down, your buddy can grab this and they can drag you to a safe position. It is a fixed drag strap, meaning that it does not deploy, it does not extend, it literally just starts pulling on the system. Located, of course, right at the back of your neck, behind your head. Now, if you guys think about this for a second, what happens when you pull on the collar in the back of your shirt is the whole thing comes up, meaning that your plates are gonna come up into your throat and or chin area. And then also, depending if you have maybe like one of those big bulky armor carriers with a very thick cummerbund and side plates and all that stuff, all of that shit is gonna ride up with it. And you start looking a little bit like the bloody Michelin man, I guess. And I don't know how realistic this is because I've never served, never deployed, never done anything like that. But if you were trying to remain combat effective and being able to shoot back or do something with your hands, now you're shooting from this position, and it can create, I would imagine anyways, some additional issues. What I'm really getting at there is it's just not ideal. In addition to that, some carriers don't even offer the ability for a drag strap. So this is the Legacy AC1 from TRX Arms, which a lot of you guys really like this carrier. And for a slick carrier, it's not bad. It really isn't. It just is limited, and I think it's worth mentioning that it does have those limitations. Slick back here, no drag handle, not something that this is gonna do well for you. But if you want to install your own drag handle on a carrier, you can, as long as it has some kind of a MOLLE interface along the back panel. So when we talk about MOLLE interfaces on the back, that's what we're going to be focusing on, as the FCPC does come with a MOLLE back panel. And I know Ferro also makes a Slickster with a MOLLE back panel that you can weave through. And basically what we're talking about is taking tubular nylon and we're going to weave it through the MOLLE panel on the back of the carrier and set this up so that you have this big old carabiner hook, which isn't included in the footage at the time I shot this, you guys, because I ordered a couple off Amazon. None of them were big enough to fit around my belt. So cheat code here, go ahead and order this one. I think it's the BFC, like big freaking carabiner or something, from Spirit Systems. It's like 30 bucks, but believe me, it is worth it because it's weight rated. It locks, if I can, yep, it just twists and then it will open up and you unhook it off of your cummerbund and then you can hook it onto your belt. There you go. So we'll get into installing this, how to run it. There's a couple tips, a couple tricks, and then I did mine a little bit different. I made a handle that I wrapped in like some Howie's hockey tape and things like that to reduce the shine. But we'll get into all that and talk about how you can and work on any carrier with a MOLLE back panel. Some companies have proprietary back panel systems, like I know HRT does, where it's just a couple sections of fabric loop. It's not really a MOLLE back panel. You might be able to get something like this put together with that, but you're probably gonna have a more difficult time. It's why I usually advocate, if you're buying a carrier, at least look for a MOLLE back panel, because if you're not gonna run a actual back panel on here, you may at least be able to put in something like this DARC strap.
Right, so here is our supplies that we need to complete this setup for the drag handle. So this, starting here, this is some 1-inch tubular nylon webbing. You can get this on Amazon for like $22. This is 30 feet. We don't need nearly that much. We need like 10 or 12 feet. So if you go off 10 feet, this is enough for obviously 3. If you go off of 12 feet, you can get 2 and change done. I also picked, this is I believe it's a washing machine hose. It's a 2-foot section I found at Home Depot. I believe it's a 7/8 inch internal diameter. The 1-inch tube was just really big. So 2 feet. I cut off a 4-inch section. That's going to be our handle portion of this drag strap. And I have a tubing cutter here, which I already had, and obviously a tape measure, so you can measure out your portions. This piece here was about $6. It was $5 and change at Home Depot, and that'll turn into 6 times 4 that's 4 inches. 6 times 4 is 24 inches, which is 2 feet. So this is 6 of these handles if 4 inches is enough for you. And if you do a 10-inch drag strap out of this, you get 3 of these. So 44 plus 6. So for about $50, you could build 6 of these drag straps for all you and your buddies. You all split the cost, assuming that you guys also already own a tape measure and a tubing cutter, but I think the tubing cutter is pretty cheap. So if you had to buy that, worst case scenario, maybe it's like another $10 or it's $60. It's like $10 a person for each drag strap. The only thing we don't see here is the large carabiner. I tried ordering one off Amazon. I could not find one from a reliable manufacturer that I trusted that was big enough to fit around my battle belt. So I did order the carabiner off Spirit Systems that they recommend, because they're the ones that really promote and pioneered this DARC drag strap. And I think after shipping it was like $27, $28. So that's the only piece that's missing from this, in addition to some shock cord, but we'll get into that later on with the install. So the first thing that we were able to do is get our tubular nylon here. So you start with one of the ends, right? Your spool is 30 feet, maybe longer if you purchase more. I took mine out to 2 arm lengths, because I'm a big guy, and cut it. I just used some trauma shears. You can use regular scissors. This stuff really isn't that difficult to cut. And then you're going to want to burn the end with a lighter so it doesn't fray or have any loose edges and things like that. It's going to come apart, and you'll end up with obviously a single arm's length worth of material. And this is what's going to be turned into the drag strap. It's going to be run through the MOLLE panel on the back of the carrier, and I'll show you what that looks like after I run it through. Okay, so one call out that wasn't quite clear in the video that I was watching that Orion did is where exactly you should be feeding through the webbing. So you want to leave enough room so that you can have a hand's width. You want your handle to have enough room. So laying this over the top here, you can kind of see we want these two. So you want skip the outside, use the next one in, and then you got the center 2 completely open and available. So the 2nd and the 5th channels are what we're going to be feeding our tubular nylon down, all the way down. Okay, so as a quick tip, if you have laser cut MOLLE like this FCPC, it's probably going to be not a ton of fun for you to run this drag strap, because any MOLLE-backed rear panel will work. So if it's traditional stitched on MOLLE webbing, you probably have an easier time. You can get this to work. Obviously I did, and we've seen the videos and things, but just a tip, having a pair of forceps like this that are pretty narrow, they're not going to cut, right? They have like little teeth in there, they grip, that you can kind of reach in between these little slits and pull it through one row by one row, it's going to save you a lot of frustration, especially if you have a more complicated rear plate bag like the FCPC does here, where you have some Velcro panels and things like that for the rear of the bag for closing the plates in and stuff like that. So just a helpful tip. This is like a couple bucks at Harbor Freight and will probably save you your sanity for something like this. A pair of like really long, thin needle nose pliers may also work, but I use these, and while it kind of annoying because they will like lock together, I made it work. It wasn't that big of a deal, but this will save you a lot of frustration. Okay, so following the instructions, I did go ahead and I tied a square knot with the end of the webbing. I will have to reburn this end because it looks like this may have not been the end that I cut, but it looks like it is starting to fray. So noticing that, I want to go ahead and burn that. But square knot, if you don't know how to do this, I found a really easy YouTube tutorial video on it. It was like a minute and a half long. I watched it 2 times, maybe, not even all the way through, twice. Figured it out, and not bad at all. This is going to be what stops, obviously, this whole drag strap from pulling through the bottom of the plate bag. So getting this right is essential. Make sure you pay attention, you check out the right video, and tie a really good knot here, and make sure your ends aren't fraying or coming apart. Okay, so I actually screwed up, and you want to actually be able to get a little bit of the webbing out on one of these. So I'm skipping about 3 rows to bring it out, and I am going to start stuffing it again back through here, so that I'll be able to pull it out on this point. And when we go talk about stowing it, that'll make a lot more sense. But I wanted to insert this and interject this so that it makes more sense as we continue. Okay, so I went ahead, I re-ran this, I retied my square knot at the bottom, and then here you can see I just ran a piece of, this is shock cord. I tied a square knot and kind of just tucked the knot away there. And what we're going to use the shock cord for is just to simply retain the folded up pieces of the drag handle, so they're not just flopping around back here on our plate bag. And once those are stowed, we'll be ready to go. All right, so you can see the drag handle is fully retained up here, slack pulled out, folded over itself, nice and neat, retained here with our bungee. Eventually we'll have a back panel that's going over this, so you won't really see it. Then you have enough here that you can clip on your carabiner and it'll be able to connect to your belt, or you can stow it out by clipping it to your cummerbund there. But that is pretty much it. There you go, not too terribly bad. And because I know everyone's going to say something and ask, I did go ahead and wrap the handle in some Howie's hockey tape to take away that glossy finish and give it a little bit extra grip. So good to go.
So guys, that's how I set mine up. It is still set up that way to this day. I have not yet trained with it. I have not yet really deployed it. It's kind of a pain in the butt to put back, but that's kind of irrelevant if it's going to work the way it needs. What I like about this is that it's set to your arm length. So if you're a bigger guy, you will have a longer drag strap, which is good because then it's going to create a larger amount of standoff as people are dragging you away. I also like having some kind of more comfortable handle. I maybe made it a little bit more Gucci than it probably needed to be, but I think of the couple friends that I've been able to help kind of steer in this direction, they've really enjoyed and appreciated that. You don't have to do it the way I did. I think as long as you kind of set it up in that fashion, you're going to be good to go. Having something like this as a way to buddy rescue, or I mean, setting yourself up this way is really a form of self-rescue if you're thinking about it. But having this put in place so that you're more effective when you're out there in the field doing things, I think it's a great idea. I know there's some companies that are kind of halfway getting to this, where they stow the drag strap and you can pull it, but it's still just attached to the plate carrier, which kind of removes the entire purpose of setting something like this up. It's a step in the right direction, yes, but unless, in my opinion, it's set up where it's actually going to grab onto your belt line rather than to your neckline and your plate carrier, you might as well just grab the shoulder straps and drag somebody out. You'd in a lot of instances actually be better off if you're out in the field, if you know how to do this. And I know Fred, when he was a spiritist, did a great video on tubular nylon, which is of course what this drag strap is made out of, where you can actually wrap it around and through people's legs and buddy drag with that. That would be an even better solution than using the legacy drag strap systems that are built into a lot of carriers out there, even from some very reputable companies. So thank you guys so much for checking the video out. I hope that this was helpful for you. If you have questions, if you have comments, if you have thoughts, drop it down in the comment section below. Love reading that stuff. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. We're dropping videos weekly. And thanks for checking this one out, you guys. Tune in next time. And until then, we'll catch you on the next one.